Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Pruden. I'm with the Salesforce Analytics Cloud, and we've got a great webinar set up for you today. We're going to be talking about how Salesforce uses Analytics Cloud to drive business strategy. But before we get started, I want to review a couple of ways in which you'll be able to interact with us during the broadcast. First is the questions button on the upper left corner of your screen. If there's anything you'd like to ask today of our presenters, please click that button and type your question. And we've left time to answer audience questions at the end of the presentation, and we'll get to as many as we can. We want to make sure this webinar offers valuable content and meets audience expectations, so please take a moment after the presentation to tell us how we did using the, quote, rate this button, in which you'll be able to see right of the questions button. So without any further ado, let's get started. We're going to be hearing from four great people today. First, Natasha Tu. She's a Senior Director in our Salesforce Enterprise Strategy Group within Financial Planning and Analysis. Next, we'll be hearing from Beth Fitzpatrick. She's Senior Director of Data.com Product Marketing. Then we'll hear from Jay Glick, VP of Strategic Alliances at Dun & Bradstreet. And then I'll be kicking things off, just kind of giving you all the lay of the land of where we've been and what we're doing here within the Analytics Cloud. So let me get started. First, I just want to do the customary thing that we have to do here, which is we're going to be looking at some forward-facing statements here. So any purchase decisions that you make around Salesforce or the Analytics Cloud must be based on current capabilities. So without any further ado, let's talk about where we've been and what we're doing. So we've been working on the Salesforce Analytics Cloud for about 2 years here at Salesforce. We launched it at Dreamforce this year. But it's really been a culmination of things that have brought us here. We started Salesforce 15 years ago and have really built our foundation as the #1 enterprise cloud computing company. And what we've been focused on here at Salesforce is making sure that all of our customers are able to quickly get up and running with any application, any view into their CRM and their customers. And we've really accelerated that time to value. And that's really been driven through customer success. So we've seen Forbes recognize us as the #1 most innovative company in the world in the last 4 years. We've been mentioned by Fortune 100 as the 100 best companies to work for. And we've also been mentioned by them as one of the world's most admired companies. So really, that's been our foundation for success, but that's really built on our customer success. And our customers have been asking us for a long time to create a really powerful analytics solution, which we did and we announced at Dreamforce this year. So let's take a look at some of the momentum that we've had since Dreamforce of this year. First, we've seen a really dramatic growth in our number of active users. We've got over 10,000 active users today, and those are across some really incredible customers, companies like GE and Equinix and EMC and Tricor. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those customer stories in more detail. We've also seen a ton of folks that have downloaded our mobile app, and you can actually access our mobile app yourself via the Apple App Store. We've seen over 13,000 downloads of it. We've also seen a lot of recognition. We've got 4.5 out of 5 stars on the Apple App Store. We've gotten an award from the Design 100, as well as been recently recognized by CRN as one of the top 10 coolest big data products of the year. So let's talk about a little bit more about what we've done to enable that success for our customers. Well, we're really focused on 3 different areas. First is building an incredible platform that anybody can access within an ecosystem of partners. Second, we've made it mobile and really made a mobile focus for our platform. And third, we've built it for everyone so that any business user can get up and running and see success and ask and answer questions of their data. So from a platform and ecosystem perspective, we started off when we launched with some incredible integration partners, companies like Informatica, MuleSoft, Jitterbit, and Dell Boomi. We also have a number of consulting partners that we work with, companies like Deloitte and Accenture and Aperio. We have a number of predictive partners, so if you want to extend our capabilities within the Analytics Cloud with predictive insights, you can work with companies like Gainsight, 6sense, or FlipTop. And then our ISV partners, companies like Apttus and Canandy or Model N, who've really built incredible solutions on the Salesforce App Exchange, can now extend those solutions with analytic apps from the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. And then the last part here around information providers, I'm going to save that for Beth to talk to towards the end of our meeting here today. So in terms of platform success, let's talk about a customer that's actually had really powerful success with the Analytics Cloud Wave platform, and that's Tricor. Tricor has really done amazing things, bringing in all sorts of data from all sorts of different places. Tricor is a laboratory based in New Mexico that actually tests for patients that have diabetes, and they have a whole series of tests that they can help those patients with diabetes manage their disease. And so what they've done is they've actually taken testing data from across all of their different testing centers in New Mexico, brought it into the Analytics Cloud, and then line that up with that patient payer provider information so they can help their physicians understand which patients are doing what type of tests. And so what they can now see is, and provide to their doctors is, what patients who are at high risk are avoiding some of the tests that they should be taking, and what kinds of promotions or special incentives can they give to those patients to make sure that those folks are doing the right tests so that they're preventing the risk that they have to them of having more serious symptoms of diabetes. So it's a really incredible story. It's a really feel-good story, and it's really an incredible use of delivering new information at the point of decision for clinicians and patients for Tricor. So next, let's talk about some of the mobile capabilities that we have. So when we launched the Analytics Cloud at Dreamforce, we also launched with it a really powerful mobile application. And what we wanted to do is give any business user the ability to ask and answer any question from anywhere about their business. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been awarded by the Design 100 Award, the Chairman's Award, the Best Audience Migration Award, Best Measurement Solution, and Best Line of Business Award. And later today, we're going to be demoing that for you. But again, you can actually download our mobile app from the Apple App Store today. We've got some demo data sets that you can get in there and play with yourself. But what we wanted to do with our mobile app was give you the ability to act from anywhere so that you can help drive your business strategy. A great example of this as well is GE Capital. GE Capital has done some wonderful things with the Salesforce Analytics Cloud for their business. They're a leading lender and a financial service provider for companies of all types and sizes. And they needed to deliver customer analytics at the hand of their salespeople everywhere. So, for example, if a GE Capital sales rep is talking to a large manufacturer and they need to, and that manufacturer needs to increase production at a given facility and they need to fund that production, or if they're talking to a customer that needs to provide more financing for their customers, then they can work with GE Capital to understand and identify that need. And GE Capital, working with Analytics Cloud, is able to bring in data from all those different financial services customers of theirs to help make those points of decision more effective and faster. And the last thing that we did, and this has really been important for our business strategy within the Analytics Cloud, is to make it for everyone, so that anybody with any question can answer that for themselves without necessarily having to wait on an IT process to get the data or wait on an analyst to figure out, what are the right sort of slices of information to provide. What we've done is we've created an experience that any business user can take action with. But in addition to that, we hear from analysts and folks that are building analysis on a regular basis, how cumbersome the process is of, being a service bureau to the business user. So if a business user has a new set of questions and they don't have the right slice of information for them, the analyst would typically have to go out and create a report for that. And what we try to do is take away that service bureau model for the analyst so that he or she can spend more time thinking about what is the business strategy and how can I better provide the right set of information so that the business can drive better metrics, instead of just being a person that drives and delivers reports. After that, we've really made the ability to roll out Analytics Cloud for the administrator much easier than it's ever been before. We've created a fully integrated platform that allows an administrator to provide permission sets and secure the information to the right in audience. And the last thing that we're really going to be focusing on this year is creating an incredible experience for developers. So any developer or ISV can create really powerful analytic applications for their business on top of the Analytics Cloud. So that's really our vision as a company and as a product within the Salesforce community. So what we wanted to do is take away all that cumbersome infrastructure, all the heavy operations, so that limits the ability of analytic applications that a company is able to deliver, and flip that on its head. Take care of all the infrastructure and the analytic and the operations, so that there can be a proliferation of useful and governable analytic applications for the business, so that anybody can ask and answer any question from anywhere. And really, we've made this possible in a number of different ways. First, we've created a dynamic visualization engine that's mobile first, it's easy, and it's interactive. But we didn't stop there. What we did is we actually took a completely different approach for managing data within a database. So I'm going to step back and just kind of talk for a second about what makes us different. Let's put your hat on. Put a hat on for a second, like you're a retailer, like Walmart. So traditionally, if you were handling traditional types and structures of data, you would have to think about some trade-offs. If, for example, you're Walmart and you're selling a bottle of water, there's usually about 5 attributes associated with a water bottle. And that's relatively easy to serve up in a report to a business user. The problem is oftentimes there's another product, something like an iPhone or an iPad, that may have thousands of attributes. And the IT team that's building the data mart that data sits within needs to make some trade-offs and decide, what are the, say, 50 attributes that are most important to my business? What are the 50 things that a business will want to ask and answer about that iPad? And if I'm wrong as an IT person creating that initial data mart, then that business person and that business can't create that end view to answer the question that they have. So what we did is we actually took a search-based approach to analytics, so that instead of having to worry about which fields to include or exclude from a data mart, we actually give you the ability to bring in all of them and have a really flexible schema, so that you can have those 5 attributes from the water bottle or thousands of attributes about the iPhone. And because we have that all running within the Salesforce cloud, you can quickly navigate it. It's fast and scalable, but it's also secure, and we give you all the ability to govern who has access to the right information. And the last thing about the Analytics Cloud that's incredibly powerful is it's 100% integrated, so that visualization, that data store, and that foundation of scalability is all natively connected to itself. So that's an overview of the technology and where we've come and some of the success that we have. And from here, I'm actually going to pass it off to Natasha Tu to talk about her success with the Analytics Cloud internally here at Salesforce, driving enterprise strategy.
Great, thank you, Ben. I'm always excited when we get an opportunity to share our journey with Analytics Cloud, so it's great to be here today and tell our story so far. As Ben mentioned, I work in finance and lead an operations team. One aspect of our charter is to really drive enterprise performance, not just at the executive level, but for everyone in our organization. As a finance organization, our number one priority is maintaining control. It's to ensure accuracy in our financial forecast and accuracy in our financial reporting. So most of our time is naturally spent on reporting and measuring performance, followed of course by planning and budgeting. However, as trusted advisors, our biggest opportunity is providing insights to our business partners in order to make informed decisions. For example, where should we invest to continue our growth momentum? Where are the opportunities for us to scale and be more efficient? What are the 2 drivers of our performance? We really need to shift our time from reporting to true analysis and insights. The challenge is time. It's not that we don't have data to perform analysis. We actually have lots of data, probably too much data. However, our data reside in a variety of places. We have our sales data on a Salesforce instance. We have our financial data in our financial system. We have our HR data in our HR system. It really takes time to gather the data, to clean up the data, and report the data. I'm sure most of you do what we do. we would just dump the data into Excel. We clean it up and normalize the data because for some reason, we like to label Japan JP in one system and then Japan in another, and then we capitalize it in another. And so we need to be able to clean up the information and normalize it. So we'd end up with these massive Excel models. I'm in finance, so I love pivot tables and charts, and so I'd create a lot of them and then just simply copy and paste it into PowerPoint for our business leaders. That's just really crazy, and it's not scalable. Not only that, but how many times have you created a PowerPoint? You think everything's great. You go into a meeting, and then you get a simple question of, well, can I see the data this way instead? So this year, what we did was we embarked on a very focused effort to revolutionize accountability and metrics. Today, what we find is that sometimes our sales organization, our marketing organization, our finance organization, we report on some of the same data and metrics, and oftentimes spend most of our time discussing whose numbers are correct, or we would reconcile our numbers and try to figure out where we're off. So we agreed that we would consolidate all of our enterprise metrics, but more importantly, ask ourselves if these are even the right metrics. As we grow and scale to 15 billion, it's important for us to reevaluate how we measure our performance to ensure not only our continued growth momentum, but also to scale efficiently and effectively. And then we assigned one owner. So guess who? That's us, finance. So what I did was, I did what I know best. I created a PowerPoint to report all these metrics. I would spend over 2 weeks just to publish what we call the Go Book. It stands for Growth and Operational Efficiency. 50 pages of over 200 metrics every month on the 15th workday, on the dot. By the time our executives receive this information, it's static. They can't react or course correct because half of the month has gone by. How many of you use PowerPoint as your reporting tool? Well, I'm glad to say that that has changed thanks to Analytics Cloud. So instead of static PowerPoints, we've created dynamic dashboards. It's real-time, it's accessed anywhere on any device. So instead of me talking about it and explaining what it is to you, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to switch over to our demo organization. I'll give it a second to switch over here. Cool. So unfortunately, I can't show you the real thing because I'll be in trouble, but I'm going to show you an example of dashboards that we've built. It's actually a replica of the real thing. So let me make sure I'm in our demo org, and yes, I am in our demo org. All the numbers that you are seeing is actually fake, so don't write anything down. This is a very simple dashboard that we've built for our leadership team as well as the teams that support them. As you can see on my iPad, it's very simple. It's all on one page. It's around the key metrics that are important to our executives as a team as well as our organization. So it's really just a state of our business, right? At the very top, you can see some very simple filters that we've created to allow people to change. You'll also see 5 very high-level metrics, the things that we look at as a company, which is our bookings, our headcount, productivity, expense, and we've created a very simple metric called cost to book. As I mentioned, we're growing, but we need to grow effectively, so we've created a very simple metric, which basically asks us, how much does it really cost us to bring in $1 of booking? You can see that we have 4 graphs. One is how much business have I booked? How am I doing against my bookings plan? How productive are my team, especially my account executives? And then, of course, how much is all this costing me? A lot of times what we get asked is, not only do we see our current business results, but a lot of our leaders and our analysts ask, well, can I see the same information and compare it to prior year? So we've created a simple filter for you to toggle so you can look at current year results and compare that to prior year. You will notice that the charts dynamically change as I select each filter. So a lot of times we look at total company. Sometimes we want to break it down to our business segments. So if I want to look at our enterprise business, I can simply select for our enterprise business, and you'll see that our metrics dynamically change, or our small or medium business, or again, back to total company. The great thing about the dashboard is that if I'd like to see the detail, I can simply click on a chart. So this is just telling me how am I doing against my plan. I double click, and the great thing is that I'm able to explore within the dashboard itself. So I can change my view, and I can change it to a pie chart, I can change it to a line, I can change it to a horizontal bar. I'm going to go back to my vertical bar because that's my favorite, actually. And you'll also notice that you'll be able to also do specific filters if you'd like to, or specific grouping. Okay? Now, if I look at this chart, I want to look at, you can hover over a specific item, and it will actually show you the details, because sometimes people want to know the specific number, especially if you're in finance like me. I want to know what is the actual number. So if I look at our quarters, it'll give you the exact number in the gray bar. So for Q4 of 2014, we actually beat our plan by $61 million, and that is awesome. Now, if I want to drill into the details, I'm able to do that simply by clicking in Drill, and I can look at my sub-segments. And so it'll tell me which of my business units are doing great or beat plan in Q4 2014. So it drills into my business segment for me, and I can tell that it's our enterprise business, close to $60 million. That is incredible. I can drill in even further by the region, and it'll break it out into the region that we've built. So I can see that this is in EMEA. I can continue to keep drilling and getting into our customers, getting into our accounts. But the great thing is I don't have to. I can share this and collaborate with my peer, my manager, or my analyst. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take action. I'm going to share a snapshot. And actually, I'm just going to chatter this. So the great thing is it's inbuilt and integrated with our chatter. I can really simply select and highlight. I can draw on it. I can add text. So great, right? Let's repeat, because I want them to do the same thing this year and beat our Q4. I can also add emotions if I feel like it. So we have emoticons. We all love those. And so let's see. Let's give them a sassy thumbs up, right? So awesome. Now I can just easily share. I'm done. And you'll notice that it pulls up my chatter post. And so I can send this to my analyst. I can send this to my exec. So I'm going to actually send it to Ben. And then I'm going to say, let's do it again. Okay? And all I have to do is just to hit share. And when Ben opens up his chatter page, he's going to see that post with the image that I've just created. This is so powerful. It's really changed the way we work as an organization. Our managers, our executives are able to open these dashboards on their phone anywhere they are in the world on any device, well, on iPad and iPhone. And then furthermore, they can share this with their analyst, and their analyst at their desktop is able to see exactly what they're showing and what they're filtering on, what they're grouping, and be able to provide further insight or answer questions. And that's our journey so far. Back to you, Ben.
Great. Thanks so much, Natasha. So from here, we're actually going to switch gears and pass it over to one of our other colleagues within our Data.com team, Beth Fitzpatrick, to talk about how she's using Analytics Cloud and what it means for the Data.com organization. So Beth, without any further ado, let me pass it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. As Ben mentioned, my name is Beth Fitzpatrick, and I actually head up the marketing team over here at Data.com. And what I really wanted to cover today was just spend a few minutes talking about the importance of data and the role that data plays in analytics. We spend a lot of time talking with customers about overall data quality, and we spend a lot of time trying to understand the insights that they're trying to gain from the data they have on their system. You know, what does their best customer look like? What industry are they most successful in? Is there certain geographies that are better suited for their product? Should they expand their overall growth strategy into other untapped markets? And these are the types of questions that customers are trying to answer day in and day out. And Analytics Cloud and the technology that's delivered by Analytics Cloud truly is top-notch, and it delivers the ability to actually really drive a lot of these insights. But what we find from customers is that without the right data and without accurate, complete, and insightful data, the tool is only as good as the data that's in there. And you know, there's the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. And when you invest in a system, when you buy a platform, when you buy technology, it can be top-notch. But without the right data, you struggle with the overall ability to make that platform or make that tool successful. So Ben, if you can click on over to the next slide for us. One of the stats that I think really blew my mind when I first heard it was that Overm Research states that there's over $700 billion lost each year by companies due to bad data. And so that is an astounding number. And that is driven by overall productivity, revenue loss, money that's wasted on trying to make systems work and to drive insight into the hands of sales that's not available. And so when you think about kind of what are the activities and what are the things that contribute to this loss in revenue, it's things like just one, sourcing for data. When you've got sales folks that are trying to identify who are the customers I should be talking to, who are the prospects that I should be going after, and who are the folks and the people that actually are working for those companies that I should be trying to talk to, that's a waste of time and productivity. And without the right data, you can't get to that level of information. And then when customers actually go out and they acquire data, let's say that you license a file from a company, or you bring a trade show list in, you have to then integrate that data into your CRM, and you have to ensure that once it gets into your CRM, that it stays current and it stays up to date. And so even when customers go out and they buy data that could be a very strong data set, that data decays rapidly over time. And as that data decays, and it becomes less and less useful and less valuable to the folks that are using that data day in and day out. And if you think about that data and the way that it drives into the analytics cloud, and it's able to actually demonstrate value and answer those questions that everyone's trying to answer, you really struggle in trying to get to those answers without the right data. So Ben, if you can click over to the next slide. I quickly wanted to just give you an overview for those on the phone that may not be familiar with exactly what data.com is. You may have heard, that data.com is the kind of integrated data strategy for Sales Cloud. And so customers that leverage Sales Cloud today have the ability to license and leverage data.com, which provides both account and contact data natively inside of Salesforce. And so by account data, it's 240 million global records from D&B. So we've partnered with Dun & Bradstreet to deliver their world-based file, which is, as I mentioned, over 240 million records from over 200 countries worldwide. So we take that account data and we make it available to customers right inside of Salesforce. And we also marry that data with what we call the data.com Connect contact asset. And that's well over 40 million contact records that are complete, that have a name, a phone number, an email address, a title, a role, and all of the information that you need when you're trying to reach out and contact someone. And we marry that with the D&B account data. So what we've done is we've delivered the world's leading business data from D&B and the contact data from data.com Connect. We've built that natively inside of Salesforce, so it becomes the data strategy for Sales Cloud customers. I can quickly go prospect and look for accounts and look for contacts right inside of Salesforce. I then can also clean that data in real time and on demand, meaning that as part of data.com, I will constantly have all of the data that's in my system, my contacts, my accounts, my leads, that are being cleaned and enriched via data.com with that information that's available. So again, what it does is it really builds that data strategy. And so when you think about the information that you need in Analytics Cloud, you need your internal customer data, you need buyer data, you need product data, you need user data. But you also need demographic and firmographic information about your customers. You need to know what industry they're in, you need to know where they're located, you need to know revenue size, employee size. You need all of these kind of foundational data points to really make your insights valuable and to really make them actionable at the same time. Then if you can click over to the next slide. So when we talk about kind of where does data fit into this overall kind of analytics cloud plan and strategy, what we find is that when we talk to customers that are using Sales Cloud and are looking at data.com, and more importantly are also looking at Analytics Cloud, they really need to take a step back and assess their data. Where does their data sit today? What is the quality of their overall data? And they need to kind of take the steps to clean up their data. So that usually can be a data quality project. It can be deploying data.com to go in and fill in those missing values and to cleanse the data that you have today, and then developing a data strategy for moving forward. Data quality is not a one-time exercise. You can't just do it once and then think that it's going to hold true. It's definitely a journey, and it's definitely a process that you need to embark on and ensure that you're managing day in and day out. And as you start to leverage and invest in tools like Analytics Cloud, data becomes fundamental and paramount in how successful you are on that journey. So when we talk to customers, we always let them know, step one, clean up your data. You really need to understand the overall data quality, and you need to have a plan in place. And once you have that plan in place, once you have deployed cleansing from data.com and you've got your data strategy in motion, then you're really focused on being a data-driven business. And by data-driven business, we really mean an organization that leverages data as a true corporate asset, that you leverage that data to drive the direction and the trajectory of your business so that you're moving forward and focused in the right areas, you're assessing and applying resources in the right direction, and you're leveraging the tools and assets that you've invested in. And then as you become that data-driven business, then you deploy an Analytics Cloud and you recognize the most success and value from a tool that can give you kind of the unlimited technology when it comes to the overall insight and analytics. And so one other thing I wanted to chat about, and Ben, if you could advance the slide. Early on in the call, Ben was talking about kind of some integration partners and partners that were leveraging the Analytics Cloud. And he did mention that we also have some data partners. And so I wanted to highlight a few of the data partners and give you an idea of what that data consists of and how customers would leverage that data. So the last couple of minutes, I've talked about data.com, and I've mentioned that it's truly the firmographic and demographic foundation for your CRM. So everyone needs to know those basic fundamental data points about the companies that they're doing business with. But a lot of customers need to go beyond that foundation. And so one of the things that data.com announced recently at Dreamforce was our data.com exchange, where we're partnering with key data providers to bring additional data assets to the market. And in addition, Analytics Cloud is also being able to leverage that data to drive the overall power that you recognize through Analytics Cloud. So when we talk about data partners, I wanted to highlight a few. HMS, Health Market Science, this is data that speaks to the healthcare space. So if you're looking for information on providers, their certifications and affiliations, and understand some of the specialties, this is the type of data that we'll receive from HMS. If we're looking at Acxiom actually provides consumer data. So if you're not necessarily looking at B2B, can I get someone to mute their phone? We've got a lot of background noise. So, thanks. So if we talk about Acxiom is really a consumer file that's going to talk about buying behavior, lifestyle data, household income. It's going to give you the demographics of the consumer that you can then leverage and report on through Analytics Cloud. Hart Hanks is actually providing an IT data set. And so with an IT data set, that's letting a customer know within the high-tech space, what are their ERP platforms, what are their systems they use, what is the IT spending and budget. So it really gives you that added insight when you're selling technology into companies. And then we've got Thomson Reuters, which is a recent partnership that we also align with. But really where Thomson Reuters provides a lot of value, especially in the analytics space, is in these 15 top key industries. And they're able to provide industry benchmarks and show you where different companies fall within those 15 industries and how you can rank order yourself in the order of performance. Wealth Engine is another provider that is providing data to the Analytics Cloud, and that's really focused on high net worth individuals. So if you're looking for funding or you're looking to have investments or some type of foundational type activity, you really want to understand who those folks are that have high net worth, so that you can target them for specific activities, campaigns, and things you may be doing surrounding that space. And then lastly, Dun & Bradstreet. And you heard me mention Dun & Bradstreet or D&B earlier as a key premier partner for data.com. And D&B delivers their world-based file of over 240 million records to data.com that we make available across Sales Cloud. But beyond that, D&B has a host of other business data and attributes that are extremely valuable when you're looking at predictive analytics and insights around a business. And so where data.com, we're really providing that foundational data set. We're telling you the demographic and firmographic information that you need to know. We're providing industry information. We're providing revenue. But a lot of customers want to take it a step further, and they want to understand propensity to buy and additional risk indicators. And so what I want to do next, I want to introduce Jay Glick, who represents D&B and is one of our key partners. And Jay is actually going to kind of talk us through a little bit more about that D&B piece and the added value that we get from D&B. So Jay, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you very much, Beth. Our partnership with Data.com has been, tremendous for us in the context of D&B has always had this great information in our database. We've had great relationships with our customers over many years. But through Data.com, what we've accomplished is taken the great information, that demographics and firmographics that Beth mentioned, embedded it natively inside of the Salesforce platform, delivered through the Data.com solution. Now with Analytics Cloud, what I'm really excited about is we actually take it the next step, where I can actually visualize and segment and predict future behavior using very powerful but yet easy-to-use tools. So what we're going to do right now is kind of go through a quick demonstration of how you'd work with this content and the value that it can bring. First off, we're looking at kind of Ben's home screen here on his iPad. I have the various applications I might want to work with on my left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have all the different components. For the purposes of today, we're going to go ahead and start with our Data.com clean applications. And what I can do is look at my list of all of my applications or break out to different parts of that. So first and foremost, I might want to look at my dashboards. Dashboards are just simple, easy ways to bring multiple information together in one summary screen that I can work with. Or I might want to go to my lenses, and I can think about lenses as a saved search. So if there's a set of information that I'm always querying and looking for the same way with my simple search, I can save that search as a lens and distribute that out to users within my application. And then finally, the data sets, which represent the underlying data assets that are being worked with and visualized and analyzed using the tools. Let's go ahead and get started with the dashboards. And what we're going to do is actually take a look at what a typical customer org might look like. So as Beth mentioned, there's lots of data out there. We bring in disparate data sets. We put them all inside of our Salesforce instance. And then we actually start to ask ourselves questions. And when we look at the questions, it reveals very quickly the challenges we might have with our internal and external data. So first and foremost here, if I've brought in my pipeline, I have over 700 opportunities representing close to $60 million in potential revenue. But if I was to ask you, how much opportunity do you have inside of the United States? Not a simple question to answer, because I have at least 3 buckets of the first 4 that represent the United States. So I have the United States spelled out, I have US, I have USA, and I may have another one going further down. Similarly, if I start to ask, what are your top industries on the right-hand side, I can see that unknown is my second largest industry, representing close to over 11 million of that 57 million of pipeline. It's very hard to do business planning when I can't aggregate my data and I have unknown. So what we're going to do is actually take a look at the same data set after we run it through data.com Clean. And through Clean, we're able to go through and match all of the information inside of your Salesforce org, and then add in and clean any missing information, as well as standardized fields such as your country, your industry, and other important data. So here I can now see that the United States is clearly, by far and away, my largest area of opportunity, closely followed by the United Kingdom and then Canada. On the right-hand side, what I can also see is that retail trade represents my largest area of opportunity, quickly followed by public administration, finance, insurance, and real estate. And if I wanted to, I could drill down at the bottom to the list of individual opportunities that make up each of these buckets represented on the top. So what I want to do now is take it a step further. I want to actually drill in a little bit on retail trade. So as I swipe to get to my next dashboard, I want to try to get some higher and deeper understanding based on the firmographic data that is added during the cleansing process. So as part of Data.com Premium Edition, we actually add over 80 fields of attributes with things like multiple industry codes, such as the SIC, Standard Industry Classifications, or the NAICS codes. We add information about hierarchy, who owns who, the legal hierarchy of the business, and we add in a variety of other firmographic details. But just looking quickly here at the industry classifications, I see that retail trade, I have 89 opportunities representing $9 million of spend, potential spend. If I look at that on the right-hand side as I drill into that, I actually see that food stores represents the largest grouping of opportunity, and I may want to ask myself one of 2 questions. Either I have maximized my value in this industry, or through white space analysis I've uncovered there's a lot more potential value, and so I want to continue to expand and target those accounts. On the flip side, I see we really don't have a lot of opportunity with industries such as apparel and accounting, accessory stores, and furniture and home furnishing stores. With those stores, I may say one of 2 questions. I don't have a lot of opportunity because I don't have a great value prop, or I don't have a lot of opportunity because I've saturated that market. And I can quickly look at my existing customer base using a similar set of lenses to determine have I truly saturated or is there white space. If there is white space, I can make a simple tactical decision to increase my value prop, increase my marketing, and target those underperforming segments. And then the next time I run this, I may see the results of that. It is dynamic. I'll see the results showing increased opportunity, hopefully converting to additional revenue. Now, as I think about that increased opportunity and conversion to revenue, as Beth mentioned, In addition to the attributes we provide to data.com, there are hundreds of additional attributes, many of which come from our predictive insights. And what our predictive insights are designed to do is to help you understand the potential future behavior of a business or a group of businesses. So as a salesperson or a marketing person, it would be really helpful for me to understand who has capacity and desire to buy my products. So on the left-hand side, I can see that of my full list of opportunities, 25% of them have a high demand or high capacity desire to buy my products. And so this is now, through our demand estimator predictive capabilities, we can tell you for your vertical who is more likely to buy your product. We can then layer in a second view of this and say, for that group of high demand customers, what is the risk involved in this relationship? And what I can do is say one of two possible actions here. I may say, let me go ahead and highlight my low risk accounts, so now I have high demand, low financial short and long-term risk. I want to target those and actually take the actions just like Natasha showed you at the beginning, send that list of opportunities out and say, these are the most likely ones to buy and to be successful. On the flip side, I can take the high-risk accounts and send an action to them and say, we need to be much more careful. There's financial instability or viability issues potentially coming with these customers. It may not make sense to spend your valuable selling time on these accounts, and so you focused on the higher quality opportunities. So hopefully what we've shown here is a couple of things. First, we've shown how we can leverage data.com Clean to end the unknown. So I can get standardized buckets of information where I can quickly and easily understand my existing customers, my existing opportunities. I can then take advantage of some of the firmographics and demographic information available through data.com Clean Premium Edition to drill into things like industry or revenue or company size. And then finally, we can then apply D&B's predictive insights to help me understand who is likely to buy my products and if there's any risk available for those. With that, I'm going to turn this back over to Ben for us to conclude our webinar. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jay. So we've had a real great overview here. We've been able to see, what we've done since we launched the Analytics Cloud at Dreamforce. We've heard from Natasha, too, that was able to tell us, what some of the successes we've had here internally at Salesforce with the Analytics Cloud. And then we've heard from Beth and from Data.com about how we have extended those capabilities with capabilities within Data.com Clean, and then furthermore extended those capabilities with D&B. So we've gone through all of our material for today, and what we want to do now is give it back to you all to ask us any questions that you have about what you've heard today. So I'm actually going to start off. I'm going to pass this question to Natasha. So Natasha, I know that your process for developing your strategy within the Enterprise Strategy Group has been a journey. So tell us about that journey. What was it like to kind of before and after, and what's been the process like for getting ramped up on Analytics Cloud?
Painful. I'm just kidding. So our journey so far is throughout this past year, we actually did a pilot at the beginning of the year. It wasn't just with Analytics Cloud. It was also with 3 other external vendors. And what we found was that none of them really provided most of what we needed. So we went with Analytics Cloud and thought, we should eat our own dog food or drink our own champagne, however you call it. We didn't really start building the data set and connecting it to our source systems until mid of this year. I'd have to say that the time when we started to when we actually got our first data set went fairly quick. And I think that was one of the best things that we learned was that let's just build things quickly. Let's just start small, focus on one data set, build it right, and then replicate that for all of the other data sets when we moved into our financial systems and HR systems. And so for us, it has been a quick deployment and a quick build. But from a change management standpoint, it wasn't until we actually showed people the tool and what we built that they begin to realize, wow, this is real. This is a game changer. This is something that we definitely can use to really transform the way we work. So it's been a great journey. It's been a lot of lessons learned. Some of the guiding principles that we placed upon ourselves was start small, move fast, and iterate. And we've been iterating on the same data set for the past 6 months. And it's been a phenomenal feedback in terms of our end users being able to go in and being able to play. I think it's when they see the real thing, because sometimes you don't know what you want until you see it. And so what we found is that if you just build a data set, connect to it, and put it out there, people will give you feedback, people will use it, and from a change management standpoint, it's much easier than if you were just to talk about it and then, wait for 6 months to deploy something. So.
Wonderful. Thanks, Natasha. So I think I'm going to give just one additional question for Beth and Jay. So, you kind of painted this really awesome vision, Beth, about what this Data.com data exchange would mean for Salesforce. I mean, could you give us a little more insight? I mean, what do you think that would mean for some of our customers? Like, how would that change the way they can use Analytics Cloud and use Salesforce to manage their business?
So I think one of the things that, and if we take it back almost to kind of a step back to when we talk to customers about data needs, when customers are looking for data, they're looking for it because they need to answer questions about their business. They need to sell smarter. They need to try to drive the direction of the business, and they need to gain insight. And so what we found over time, and Data.com is somewhere between 3 and 4 years old now, and as we talk to more and more customers, we find out that the data that they're looking for isn't just the data they have inside their own four walls. It isn't just kind of the basic fundamental data that they capture from invoice data and procurement data and PO data and all the other types of data that they have that we kind of all own and manage and try to kind of muddle through day in and day out. And it's not just the data that they can acquire from a data provider like Data.com or D&B. It's not just that general firmographic and demographic information on the business. It's not just the information on the contact that's going to tell you, where do I call them at or where do I email them at. They want more than that. They need behavioral data. They need data that shows a little bit more about how to interact, information that's coming that tells you things that's relevant to an industry. And as we're trying to kind of sell smarter and we're trying to kind of capture more market share and businesses are trying to do everything they do day in and day out more effectively, they have to have more information that's going to direct their business. And so when I think about what a salesperson needs that's sitting at a desk trying to sell more and drive their overall kind of growth as a salesperson, they need to understand more about the person they're talking to or the company they're selling into. And when I think about it from an organizational perspective, and I'm thinking about where I'm trying to go with direction and strategy, what's that next area I want to expand into? Or if I'm trying to work on product development, what is the sweet spot that I should be focused on? And so I can use the basic fundamental data and I can load that into Analytics Cloud and into Wave, and I can gain a level of insight, and it can tell me the things that I need to answer. But when you overlay that with this data that's specific to industries and specialty data, what that does is it just basically takes the insights up a whole other level. It's not only going to tell you kind of the fundamental questions you're trying to answer, it's going to provide predictive insights and direction on where you should be going as a business. So the way I look at it is, Data.com provides a foundation in Salesforce. It helps customers sell better. It helps the platform run more efficiently. And then when you take that data and put it in the Analytics Cloud, it really answers the questions that you need to answer quickly, effectively about your business. But then when you come in and you overlay it with the specialty data that's available through Data.com Exchange and accessible via Wave, you now have elevated yourself to a new level. It's that added edge, and it can provide a whole host of questions that you can't answer, whether you take weeks and days on spreadsheets because you've got data from all these different sources. It's bringing all of this data together from all of these different sources that give you a unique perspective. It's marrying it inside of Analytics Cloud, and it's giving you the direction you should go with your business. So it really just takes you up a whole nother level than any other view that you can go with.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth. So I want to be a little bit mindful of time. Jay, I know I haven't been able to punt over a question to you yet, but we're about at 10:50 now, and I think we're going to wrap up for today. So we really want to thank everybody for participating. If anybody has any final questions, they can type it into the questions box here now, and we can answer them. So we'll just give you a couple minutes or a couple seconds to give it a go. All right, so we don't see any final questions coming through. So really grateful to have all those that were able to participate and join today. I understand we had a little bit of audio issues as we kicked off, so we're apologetic for that. If we need to rehost the webinar, we'll certainly do that as well. So thanks everybody again for participating, and we really appreciate your time. So have a great rest of your day, and feel free to reach out to us with any questions or thoughts that you have. Thanks.